All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Jeff Lair from Start Grow Manage, where we help MSPs get out of the technical trenches and run amazing businesses that power extraordinary lives. And I'm excited to be here today with Igal and Esther from MSP Link. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great to be
Thanks
here.
for having us.
So why don't we just take a second, let you introduce yourselves, Esther? Why don't we start? Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Sure. So my name is Esther Deitch. I'm a senior MSP success manager here at MSP Link and Net at Work, and been in the MSP space for about over 10 years now, which is crazy to say, but love it and really looking forward to our conversation today.
And also a master networker. I don't think anybody doesn't know Esther. You know, I was in the supermarket the other day buying apples, and I mentioned your name, and I'm like, oh yeah, I see
Yeah,
her
yeah,
on
yeah.
LinkedIn all the time. You know, it's not quite true, but it does seem like you know everybody. I'm like, whatever Esther does, I gotta copy that and do that so that people get to know who I am. So
That's
you you
kind.
you
I
really are.
appreciate it.
You're great at getting your name out there, and everybody loves the fact that they're connected to you. They almost boast about it. So you do
Well,
all that other stuff, but really that's who you are. And now you Igal, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. So I'm Igal Rabinovich, the Director of Partner Success at MSP Link. We are powered by Net at Work. I've been with the company almost 13 years, so almost eight years in this role. I work closely with Esther, and we work with our alliance partners. I've been in technology space now for, Esther, you're saying 10 years is a long time. I've been doing this about 30 years.
forgive me.
I remember when we used to take very floppy disks and put them into a very square box to load applications. That's what used to do.
Remember, that was how we had to start computers, right? So whenever there was if you had to reboot a computer, you had to boot from disk, you know, and then there
Yep.
was this big thing around, well, but now the stuff doesn't fit on the disk. You had to boot from the disk to load the driver that would run the CD so that you could get at the files. You know, I mean, that was back in the good old days, right? When you really had to configure network cards. None of this, everything's done for you type of environment.
Yeah, it was a different life, but yes, I can remember all of that. So 30 years goes by real quick.
Yeah. So I remember I was doing some work with Berlin, with Daimler Benz in Berlin, and we had this amazing idea of having one repository for software between two factories, one in Berlin and one in Hanover, and this blew everybody's minds. It's like, you can do this across geography, and somebody said, yeah, this is where we're going to go in the future. Nobody believed it. Like, nobody could believe that that's where computing was going. But anyway, that's the past. um tell me a little bit about MSP Link. What is MSP Link, and what is the problem that MSP Link is solving for MSPs?
Sure. So I can take that one. So as an MSP, you're generally the trusted advisor for your clients, right? And from their point of view, software, tech, IT support, cybersecurity, it's all the same. They don't differentiate, between one or the other. They just know that you're their advisor. And the problem is that most MSPs don't have the resources or the expertise to provide a line of business solutions, at least in an in-depth way. So that's where we come in. With MSP Link, we provide the subject matter expertise for you as the
Okay.
MSP so that you have the product experts and can then be that, one-stop shop for your clients and help provide them with a full technology roadmap, we call it. So you can be that one-stop shop for them for all their needs, not just the cybersecurity or technology support.
So I think that's fascinating, because one of the things that we talk a lot about, and we've talked a lot about here, is this idea of MSPs must move towards becoming business solution providers. Got to get out of the uh, infrastructure space, and part of the reason is that, things do configure themselves automatically, and it is normal to have software distributed, remotely, and we don't have floppy disks anymore. So a lot of that technology is fading into the background, but the demand for business solutions is skyrocketing. So to build on sort of Joe's question there, what are the most common line of business applications that your team supports?
Yeah, I could do that. So we when you think about MSP Link, you think about kind of the resources that we have as Network, and then the resources that our partners have as well. We have about 350 partners in our program today, and about 100 of them are MSPs, specifically in the MSP program. We cover about 30 plus different line of business applications in categories as ERP, CRM, HRMS, e-commerce, warehouse automation. It's all the stuff that really kind of powers their business, their different day-to-day lines of business.
Yeah.
And to Esther's point, from a client's point of view, whether it's a server, a firewall, cybersecurity, or an ERP application, to a client, it's just technology. It's just tech stuff, right? But also to your point, the tech stuff, the line of business stuff is becoming almost more top of mind, right? Because from that point of view, cybersecurity, well, of course, like I need to have it, and I have it, and you're my IT guy, and you're doing it. But cybersecurity is not something you see every day, right? It's one of those things where it's doing its job, you don't really think about it. When you think about something like a CRM, for example, or an ERP, almost everybody in your company touches it every single day. That's what they're using all day long, right? And if somebody in accounts payable can't cut checks and can't cut payroll, like that is a very painful, real, short-term thing that's got to be solved. And from their point of view, it's technology. It could be caused by the application. It could be caused because somebody didn't put ink in the printer. It could be caused because, as often is the case, somebody that didn't plug the printer in, or whatever the issue is. From their point of view, I can't cut my checks, right?
Yeah, no, that's right. And so what they do is they go back to the MSPs and they say, hey, help me with this. And we've seen cases where the MSP is confused, doesn't quite know how, or isn't sure if this is part of their remit. But this is really where the opportunity is, because when you can support those line of business applications, now you do become that trusted partner, and you are able to support them in their day-to-day operations. But how does it work? So if you're an MSP, I join MSP Link, and then there's trainings. How does that piece work?
Yeah, I mean, so to your point, we suggest to MSPs that they put themselves in a position of a trusted advisor or VCIO, right? So if you were a CIO, let's say an internal CIO in an organization, you wouldn't necessarily know every single application and how to press every button and support every single user, right? But your job is to understand the applications and where to go when there's a problem, and who to bring in, and how to bring in subject matter experts, and how to remediate and things like that. So from the point of view of the MSPs, like I mentioned, we've got 100 of them in the program today. Our suggestion to them is don't try to become an expert in all these applications. Just understand what they are, how they work, what they do. So, for example, in the scenario we're just talking about, I wouldn't suggest necessarily that the MSP learn how to fix the problem of that check being cut, but that they understand, okay, is it a printer problem, ink problem, or is it a person problem, or maybe it's an application problem? Let me get a subject matter expert. They would reach out to us. What's interesting in your kind of description of that is the very first thing you said, which is that the client calls the MSP. And if that's happening, that's already a good thing, right? Because that means that the client is thinking of the MSP as a trusted advisor for all these things. What we see more often than not is the client does not think of the MSP for those type of challenges. So, like, for example, I'll give you a simple example. Small company being supported by the MSP, and the client is growing, right? Maybe they're using QuickBooks today, and maybe they've outgrown QuickBooks, and they're ready to look for something else. They're not sure what they need, but they know they need something else because QuickBooks isn't doing it anymore. I'm not picking on QuickBooks, but just as an example.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Ideally, you want them to go to the MSP and say, hey, Esther or Jeff or whatever, can you help me with this? Like, what should I do? You're my trusted advisor. Like, guide me, right? What we see more often than not is the client will just start Googling, or go somewhere else to find those resources, right? Because they don't think of their MSP when it comes to line of business. So what happens? Of course, they start Googling, they find somebody else who does ERP or whatever. that person also likely does managed services, or their cousin does MS, or their friend, right? Everybody's doing managed services.
Yep.
So when folks ask me what is the biggest reason that partners join our program, I mean, they make commissions, which is nice. There's the new revenue, which is good. But the biggest reason they tell us is customer stickiness, right? If they can have their customers coming to them for all of these kind of questions, that makes a big difference, and it elevates the value of their conversation. So I think that's a big point. The other point is differentiation, right? So one thing
Yeah.
about having your customers come to you, the other point is, how do I get new customers? So we have the benefit of working with a lot of MSPs, and we get to look at a lot of MSP websites and how they market and what they do. And what's consistent across everyone is talking about things like cybersecurity and the need to focus on business continuity and hardware and all important stuff. I'm not saying it's not. The challenge is they're all talking about the same thing, right? So as a customer, how do I differentiate between one MSP and the other? So when you start to expand your conversation to be a bit more strategic, to your point, and you make this point all the time, right? Now you're not just a guy who's trying to sell a commodity, and it's very likely your cybersecurity solution is just a resell of the same thing the other guy was doing, right? It's really more about, I'm going to be your strategic business advisor, your technology advisor across your entire technology stack. We're going to look at your business and where's it going. That's a very different conversation. And what we've seen is MSPs are able to pull in different customers that they used to, larger customers, right? Sell more co-managed solutions. So that's where some of the benefits that we've seen.
Yeah, so I love that example of you've got a problem with QuickBooks, so you Google QuickBooks, you find the MSP that supports QuickBooks, and that's what we just see over and over again is that if you can be the MSP that supports QuickBooks for accountants, right? Then you can charge more money to accountants. You do become that trusted advisor. You are somebody whom they can look at as an expert to really help them grow their business, rather than just be that infrastructure provider that makes sure that the computers turn on. And that's where we think that the market is really going, how it's evolving is towards being able to provide those solutions. Because if you can't, like you say, everybody can provide the MSP services. The question is, who can provide that level of support that really enhances the business and the business objectives that they're trying to achieve. How do you ever come across the concern or the complaint that, hey, that's not really what we do? We are an infrastructure provider, not, we don't do line of business?
Well, so all of our MSPs don't do line of business, right? So even the ones who join our program don't do line of business. The message that we give them is, you don't have to become an expert in it, right? And as a matter of fact, when we work with so I'll give you an example. One of the activities that we do with our MSPs. So most MSPs, or I won't say most, many MSPs are trying to make this motion, or started to make this motion, to become more strategic in their conversations when it comes to QBRs, technology roadmaps, right? Things like that. When you look at the people who are having those conversations, they're typically the same account managers who yesterday were on the help desk, or managing somebody's account, and they're very technical in terms of their path, how they got there. Probably less experienced, less comfortable talking about digital transformation, line of business applications, kind of at that C-suite level, having a more expanded conversation. So one of the challenges, well, how do I flip that, right? How do I take that person who is very knowledgeable from a technology point of view and allow them to have a conversation at a different level? What we do is we help them we have, for example, we have VCAL master classes. We have a number of assets and classes they can do, and we have one-on-one sessions with them where we help them understand, what is line of business, what is ERP, what is CRM, right? How do you have that conversation with the client? What are the pain points? Just at the level of, again, a CIO or a CTO, right? Because that person at that level, they don't have to understand the difference between NetSuite, Sage, Microsoft, and Acumatica, right? That's not their job.
Every detail.
Right. Their job is to understand what is the benefit of addressing this as an issue. How do I help my client through this digital transformation and change management? How do I bring in the right folks into that, right? And that's what we've been successful in doing with our partners, is getting it to that level, right? So now they're comfortable walking in. Like, for example, yesterday, one of the things we do with our partners is we have call them like office hours. So if they have a QBR coming up, let's say, and they want to jump on and have a little chat with us about something that's going to happen in the QBR, get some strategy, whatever. So yesterday we had a call one of our partners. He was walking into a new client. They had some of these needs, right? And we had a 30-minute conversation about what kind of questions to ask. What pain points may they be having? How do you address? What do you ask? Right? What do you say? And then the outcome of that discussion will probably be to bring in someone from our team that will kind of guide them through a decision process, selection process, something like that. Right.
So what do you see happening to MSPs who can't help their clients with this line of business software? Do you see trends that are driving towards an evolution here?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, what we're seeing is the folks who are not making this transition or not making it quick enough, they're struggling with new customer acquisition, because again, the question is differentiation, right? How do you differentiate yourself from somebody else?
Yeah.
The challenge is around profitability, right? So it's interesting. One of the things that MSPs say to us sometimes is, I don't know if I can get my clients to invest in some of these line of business applications. Like, I'm struggling to get them to pay my $4,000 a month bill for managed services, right? To which we say, yes, but your clients are paying, in fact, hundreds of thousands of dollars, right, on these lines of business applications to purchase them, to support them, to modify them, whatever. That's the difference in value, right? They're seeing
Yes.
some of this traditional managed services stuff as kind of like, commodity.
And I think that that's particularly interesting, right? So we say to ourselves, hey, oh, they're already paying $4,000 and they don't want to pay $4,000, and this feels like a lot. Oh my gosh, they're paying us $4,000 to do this, because it's real money to us and our business. And the reality is that they're actually willing to spend significantly more money, just not on commodity technology services. So the money is there for help me understand how to apply technology to my business, help me understand how to build the business, help me make sure that my line of business software is working, that my people can work, that I can grow, that I can scale. Like, there is money there for how to make technology work. It's like you said, the amount of money you're spending on NetSuite makes the $4,000 that you're spending on your MSP, look like candy money, right? But from our perspective, right, from the MSP's perspective, from the small business perspective, it feels like real money, and that's a matter of changing the conversation. We actually go a step further. We talk about our strategic business reviews, and one of the things we really coach our clients to do is go out and conduct strategic business reviews rather than than the technology business reviews. Like Joe was saying, is why it's so important, is to understand where that business is going, what their issues are, so that you can come and use some of these tools that you're providing and these insights that you're providing to build those businesses. And that's where the value is. That's where you can extend your value well beyond that $4,000 and $5,000 and into being a true trusted partner. And it looks like that. So I think that service is extremely valuable.
Yeah, and what's interesting is we use the word value a lot, right? Value is perceived, right? And what is valuable to someone is valuable differently to somebody else, and it's a matter of understanding how to communicate value in the way that a client thinks about it. So I'll give an example. The session we're going to have next week, we're going to get together. We're going to talk about cybersecurity a lot, right? So when it comes to a line of business, cybersecurity, the way you talk about it and use it in conversations from a line of business point of view can significantly shift how you have the discussion. I'll give you one example.
Yeah.
So let's say you're having a cybersecurity conversation with let's say it's a manufacturer and distributor of whatever, pick a product, right? They sell online, they sell through distributors, right? And let's take an extreme situation, right? Meaning that they sell majority of their stuff over let's say Christmas or, some holiday, maybe their Valentine's type of a gifting company or whatever. And I've seen that situation where companies will sell like 80% of their revenue in like 2 months of the year,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So one of the questions we ask or we suggest to MSPs that they should ask their clients when they talk about cybersecurity, business continuity, anything like that is, how long can you afford to be down? And what will it cost you while you're down, right? That question is different depending on the company you're talking to, right? And the way we suggest that they ask the question is, okay, let's assume you could only be down 1 day a year. You don't get to pick the day. Okay, so it's your biggest, busiest.
It's always going to be the
It's always going to
busiest
be,
day.
right? It's always going to be.
There's only one option for that day. But anyway, go. So you get to pick. There's one day
You don't
here,
pick the
you
day.
don't get to pick it, so you know exactly which day it's going to be, right?
Because if you say, because like for example, if you're talking about cybersecurity, you're talking about hosting, things like that. Get into SLAs. SLAs have things like uptime, downtime, right? And depending on whether you're, let's say, a hosting facility is 4 nines or 3 nines or 5 nines or whatever, right? And they say things like, "Oh, we're only down one day a year." Like that's my SLA. That sounds okay, right? You got to ask the question in the right way, right? So okay, fine. You get to be down only 1 day a year, but you don't get to pick the day, right?
Yeah.
So if Christmas is your biggest day, like that's the day going to be down, right? What is that going to cost you? And then you move back from there. Like we've seen situations where there was a hosting provider a couple of years ago. They were down for like a week and a half. They had like 200 customers down for a week and a half. We spoke to a lot of those customers. A lot of them happened to be non-for-profits. And we're like, you guys have been down for like a week and a half. Like,
A week.
we have a better solution for you. It's going to cost you like $100 a month more, right? But there's a better solution for you. And we were shocked when the response was, you know what? We figured out a way to deal with it over that week and a half. That $100 a month to us is more important. Like we're not going to make it. But if you take someone that's doing, $30 million, but they're doing 20 million of that in 2 days or a week or whatever, they're down for a day. They're down for a day. So now you get into conversations around.
Well, there are some organizations that are worried about, tenth of a second speeds into their offices, right? And then there's some like, well, a day is not that big a deal, and it's a matter of understanding that avatar, understanding what you do, what kind of resources. If you're talking to that nonprofit who doesn't really care all that much, and you go in with a hey, we're 100% uptime and we can get you a tenth of a second faster internet, and they're not going to buy from you, but somebody else will, right? Because somebody else really cares about that.
Right. So now, how do you translate that conversation to your cybersecurity business continuity, right? So now, when you're talking about a technology roadmap and you're starting to put some things into place, you say, all right, so based on your need, you cannot be down for a day, right? Or if you are, you got to be able to recover within an hour or 2 hours or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So now, when we're looking at your, let's say, hosting solutions or whatever, like it's not good enough that we have backups that are a week old, a month old, or even a day old. Like we need to have snapshots that are hourly snapshots. If you go down, because one of the challenges that you're going to have when you talk about business applications. So imagine you've got all these orders coming down from your website. They're hitting your system. You got to figure out what you can ship. You got shipments going on. You got the warehouse with inventory happening. You've got purchasing. All of these things are happening. As soon as you go down, right, now you've down for whatever period of time. When you come back up, somehow you've got to get back to the point you were, or you still can't ship. And if you're not shipping, you're not making money. Or if you're not pulling orders down, you're not making money. So you can get back up and running, let's say, in an hour or two. It may take you a day to re-key punch everything that was supposed to happen or that you missed, right? You start to put that into the context of technology. Now you're having a conversation with the client that you're kind of connecting their, business needs with the spend on tech.
And that's the key, is telling the stories in their language about the concerns that they have about their business. It's all cybersecurity, but at the end of the day, they're not making that connection between this thing called cybersecurity and a pain that I may feel. They're just, cybersecurity is that thing that's over there that I don't understand. And our role is to connect that thing that they don't understand to the day-to-day. And I completely forgot. I was so excited to talk to you guys that I completely forgot to pitch our training day coming up on the 27th. So 1 week from today, And you guys are gracious sponsors who are going to be there helping to buy the MSPs at lunch and make sure that they get this crucial education. So I'm really thankful that you guys are going to be there. I'm excited to have you there. And so anybody who wants to learn more about MSP Link, you want to actually meet, Esther in person, this is the opportunity, guys. So come join us. We're going to talk about cybersecurity. We're going to talk about selling cybersecurity. And we're going to talk about exactly these issues, how you can connect with your customers, with your prospects around these very important and very valuable topics in a way that helps them see the value and helps you deliver that value. So that's what we're going to do on the 27th. It will be live in White Plains. We'll send out videos of it afterwards to anybody who can't be there. So be sure to register, come visit us. And yeah, what do you guys hope that people get out of the event next week?
Well, obviously, always nice to meet people. So that's always good. In terms of meeting folks, I think actually you guys are going to get stuck with me. Esther has another event she's going to be at, which is
I
I hear. I know.
I mean, it's almost like I don't even
for
believe
Joe.
you're a real
I wasn't even going to say it,
Everybody's
but
coming for the Joe, so it doesn't even matter.
I wasn't even going to say it, but I didn't want to do a bait and switch. Like, oh, Esther's going to be here. Oh, Igal.
Okay, so let's just go back and delete all of that. That was just so.
Next
if you're
one.
ready to meet
Next
Igal
one.
in person and believe that he is a real person, he's going to be there on the 27th, and we will discuss whether or not Esther is real or if she is just some sort of AI bot out there that's a figment of everybody's imagination. So that will be one of the topics of conversation. So actually, I have met Esther in person. I do know that she exists, but we will cajole her to come to the next one. But I don't think we're in bad hands hanging out with Igal, who's also very fun. I was just singling you out, Esther, because you haven't had a chance to talk so much today.
All good. It's all good.
But yeah, so you'll be there. We'll be talking, and I kind of cut you off with that. What is the one thing that you really want them to take away?
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway for MSPs for me would be, really focus on expanding the conversation you're having with the clients. Make sure you're bringing more technology into that conversation. The MSPs that we see are most successful in retaining clients and getting new clients are the ones who are able to behave like a true trusted advisor across all things, and that are more importantly, I think, or maybe as important, are making where their clients know that, right? 'Cause it's one thing that you can have fantastic resources and a great program, but if your client doesn't know that and if they're just thinking about you as the IT guy, that's a problem, right?
I love this from Joe. You guys should put this on your website. MSP Link will help MSPs move into the trusted partner space with velocity. That sounds kind of cool, right?
That's why Joe is Joe.
Yeah. And I can also say that having been in the shoes, I worked at an MSP for many, many years, and we did this successfully. Unfortunately, I'm sad that I didn't know about Net at Work back at the MSP, so we're helping everybody not fall into the same trap that I did. But it's one of the reasons I love working here is because I actually have seen firsthand and experienced this need, and also have seen more on the positive side of what it did for us as an organization to have a partner like Net at Work. And we didn't even always have that, because one of the things I love about us is that we have multiple experts in multiple areas of each category. So for example, we cover multiple CRM products, not just one. So it gives the MSPs, the opportunity to also have us position them more as that trusted advisor, not just selling a product, but actually a full, roadmap and really putting the customer first. So I can speak to the need and the benefits firsthand.
I mean, I think that's brilliant. And I do think the best solutions always come out of industry, right? So the best solutions come out of, you've been there, you've seen it, you've been in the trenches. Like our program comes out of Joe's suffering, putting together her first MSP. Your experience comes out of what you needed to build an MSP and the trends that you saw. And those always tend to be, the best, most authentic solutions. And I think it sounds brilliant, because I really think this is the key to getting people to that next level. So we put the link up a couple of times, Carla, and I didn't draw anybody's attention to it. So just one more time, go check out MSP Link and go check it out. Sign up. Is there anything they need to do to sign up there, guys? No.
That's really just go right ahead to MSP Link. You could also reach out to Igal and I. We're both pretty findable on LinkedIn or email, or even in person at the
Yeah.
event.
So
But
they're
yeah,
both on LinkedIn. Igal will be there in person next Thursday, so you can grill him. And then you can just go sign up now on MSP Link and go check out the stuff that they have. I think this is it really gets at that question that a lot of people ask us. There's a lot of fear around becoming a trusted advisor. There's a lot of concern around putting myself out there, and what are people going to think, because I'm not necessarily a subject matter expert. And I do love the power of bridging that gap between I don't know to now you can be a subject matter expert with these resources at hand. And like you say, it doesn't need to be at the detail level, but with that confidence that you can go in as that CIO, as that VCIO, as that technical person who is guiding and supporting these businesses. So go check it out. And so what is this? Net at Work was my partner back in the computer ER days, implementing Great Plains for us. There you go. And I know for a fact that Joe knows nothing about Great Plains. So clearly that worked well. All right. Well, guys, it has been a real pleasure to hang out with both of you. Any parting words from your side before we take off?
besides Joe is awesome. That's what I got.
Igal, I don't know. It's like it's the two of us. It should have just been Esther and Joe, right?
It should have been. Definitely, it's a Joe and Esther show. And I will echo what you said about Esther. She, one of the amazing things about Esther, she is a ridiculous networker. Like everybody seems to know Esther. Every day I'm surprised. I shouldn't be surprised anymore, but I'm kind of reminded by it. And it's funny. We've actually said, you know what, Esther, you're so good at this. You should go help our partners do this. So she's actually started to. She started to reach out to her MSPs and like, you know what? Let me help you build a network in your area.
Well, look, maybe that's something, Esther, we should talk about putting a course on how to do this in the Start Grow Manage community, and because I do, all jokes aside, you do have a talent in that area, so I do think that's something that you can support.
It's people like you and Joe and really everyone that's what I love most about it. I mean, we're here because of Joe and I met at a networking event like 20 years ago in New York City. Both doing different things at the time, and just the rest is history. So that's what it's all about,
Well, and I think Joe's very good at that too. I'm terrible at it. I'll be honest with you. Like it's not even that I don't like people or don't like the connections. I just forget to stay in touch. But I think there's.
Well, you and I have been in touch, so you can't be that bad at it.
Yeah, but I think, and me and Joe too, right? But
there
honestly, I think that's more you guys than me. But. All that aside, look, guys, thank you very much for coming. It has been a pleasure. I look forward to seeing you next week, Igal. Thank you for the support. Guys, please go register for the session next week. We can't wait to see you. Go sign up for MSP Link, and we will see you next week. We won't be live because we will be live. We will be in real life.
What's that?
You can touch us and feel us, and don't touch us. Don't touch us.
We'll
and
be
feel
away
us,
from just these.
You can touch us and feel us.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Have an amazing week.
Thanks, Jeff. Bye.
Thanks for joining us, and a special thanks to our subscribers. Consider becoming one right now and tap into our insights and instincts to help drive your business vision and success. Remember, you didn't start your business to feel frustration. You started it for freedom. We can help you discover the impact, freedom, and wealth you always imagined. Learn more at startgrowmanage.com/learn more.